I'd like to welcome everyone here. Like I say, I'm not sure, but this may be the last night of the meeting. If you'll turn with me to Matthew 24, we've been blessed with a lot of good messages the last few days, and I'm sure today has been a tiring day if you started early with us. But we've had a lot of the Word spoken to us today, and I'm sure that we took in some food somewhere between all these events, and maybe even a nap. I'm not sure. But, you know, we need to hear the Word. As I mentioned the other night, Apostle Paul said it was good for us to hear the Word over and over, that we condition ourselves to know what we're to do, to know what we have to do to be obedient to God. And so I just want to take a few minutes tonight in the 24th chapter, beginning at the 36th verse, and I'm basically just going to read this to you. This is Jesus talking. And anytime we see something in red, we need to have our ears perk up and listen, because he spoke important stuff. He said, "But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only." Now, you'll probably hear people predict, write books, when the end of time is going to be. But if you believe in the Word, he says, my Father only is the only one, not even he knows. Okay? And the reason I'm reading this is that we do need to be prepared. And there's some things in here that's going to foretell that's going to happen. And we need to know that. We need to understand that there are going to be false prophets. There's going to be things going to be happening. But if we're sure in our relationship with God and we study the Word, we'll know what's going to come to pass. He said, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until that day and Noah entered into the ark. No one had an idea." Just as though we don't have an idea if it's going to happen tomorrow. And we may be taken out of this world before that day comes. 39 says, "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, and one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, and one shall be taken, and the other one left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come." We need to keep ourselves sanctified to the Word daily, because we don't know when it will happen. "But know this, that if the good men of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have not suffered his house, suffered his house to be broken up." It's like, I think there's a commercial going around. This man gets a note and says, tomorrow at 10 o'clock we're going to have a heart attack. We don't get those notes of when God's going to come. Only God knows. "Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man cometh." 24/7 we need to be ready. "Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth in his coming." The lost aren't wise to the ways of God. You know, Brother Eric mentioned today that if we knew, if those people that are lost knew what hell was going to be like, he said they'd be a line here wanting to be baptized. If we knew, we would probably get our house in order a little better. Some people have illnesses come on to them, and the doctors say, you've got a few weeks, you've got a few months. Some people die in a car wreck, head on, boom. We have to be prepared. "And shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken. The Lord of the servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour when he is not aware of." They're not concerned with the coming. That we need to be concerned and not fall away from the faith. "And shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." We've been told, we have the word. We know it's going to happen, but we don't know when, but we are to endure. As I said earlier, we've had a lot of good messages. We've had the word spoken to us. We just need to apply these to our lives and to keep on keeping on doing the things that we need to do. Singing praises to God and letting Him use us that His light might shine through us. At this time, we're going to sing 437. Brother Jim will come.
I'm not the only one. They say, I can't keep up with you. Well, tonight is no problem. Number 605. I love that song because forgetting everybody around you and everything around you, and you stand before God and say, just as I am. What you see is what you get. And once that's taken care of, we can live with that. We can live with that, regardless of what's around us. Number 605. I want to talk about something that's vital tonight, and we probably take it for granted. And if I can get the point across, I hope you leave here and stop at the water cooler as you go through, because we're going to talk about water. The more I know about my physical body, and I'm created and made in the image and likeness of God, and there's a part of God that lives in me. And the more I understand and know about that, the closer walk I have with Him. I think our earth is 70% water. Probably our body is somewhere just above that scale. Different people have to have more water, some have less. But we all get a liquid. It might be coffee or a Kool-Aid or whatever. You're getting water from that. There's a content of water in about everything, even a soda. So water is vitally important. And yet I look at our world today, we take it for granted. We're getting better at it. We used to throw things in our stream, and we have to drink from that water. We used to do all this thing. Now, I'm not an environmentalist, as the definition goes, but I think any time that you have abuse in any field, you're going to reap the results of it. So I want to talk about water tonight. I want you to get to see it physically. You have to have it in your body. Your body is made up of it, and it's vital. You see, when God made us, do you see the connection? And it took me probably 30 years before I got to thinking, I've got to get outside of the box a little bit. I need to think outside of the box. People will put you in a box, and they like to keep you in a box. Jesus warned against that. He said, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. That's where the peace comes. When He becomes a part of our life, just as our clothing is, I found it to be more of a comfort. There's also another statement that He made, and as I started to think about it. Have you eaten supper yet? How many's eaten supper yet? You can raise your hand. I'm not going to come after your food. Huh? Okay. Yes, he's probably the wise one, and Lawrence eats on time. I mean, like a time clock. It's amazing about the human body. We can eat, and for about 4 hours, somebody could offer you the premier steak. Well, most people. There's a guy or two I wouldn't want to offer that. I'm not going to get into names and personalities. And you're satisfied because your body is being satisfied. It's filled. It's full. But after about 4 hours, if you couldn't get the food, you'd eat grass. Why? Because there is a fulfilling inside physically that has to be filled. It has to be filled. We have to have water, and we have to have food. Jesus, when He said, a lot of people didn't know what He was talking about. A lot of times we don't apply ourselves enough. We want to find somebody, somebody else to define that for me, figure that out for me, do that for me, when we need to do it ourselves. He said, blessed is he that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for he shall be what? Filled. Look at hunger. Your tummy gets empty. You're thirsty. You haven't had any water. And your physical body cries out. Well, our spiritual soul does the same thing. It does identically the same thing. That's the way we're wrapped. That's the way we're put together. And so if we hunger after righteousness or doing the right thing or living the right way or treating people the right way and doing all of these things, and when we do that, the spirit becomes satisfied from the hunger standpoint. And yes, when we drink enough, we're satisfied. I don't know about you. Everybody has to make up your own mind. But I'm not going to put forth all of this effort of denying myself what my physical body craves, denying myself and not understanding what my spirit needs. There was a time in the Bible that said there was a famine in the land. Not for food. It's for hearing the Word of God. In our nation today, in the midst of all that we've got, we're starting to be. Somebody has maybe brought us to the point of saying, when you obey the Lord, that all your problems are solved. Your problems are just starting. And I've talked to people, they said, well, Jimmy, you'll not get many conversions like that. I said, if it's not the right conversion, you don't need it anyway. You're not doing people a service. I was thinking coming up today of some people have the concept that Christians are weak. No, you're not. You're the strongest individual there is. It's easy to give in to temptation. That's the weakness. It's not the strength of going against it and being different. It's important that we understand the physical connection to the Spirit that God made. And after I found that out, problems got a lot easier for me to solve. I said, that's a natural thing, Lord, right? That's a natural thing. There's a warfare, my flesh against my spirit. That's what he said. I had this little thing going a few years back, and I think I've about quit or forgot. I told somebody the other day, I said, there's two things I always try to do. Every day of my life, learn one new word and make one new friend. You'll be amazed at what it can do for you. The words I forgot. Friends I haven't. I see them, and they're a reflection of our relationship with each other, how they feel about you and how you feel about them. That will not be forgotten words are. There was a word that kept jumping out in my mind when I was a young man, started at Lincoln Valley. There was this old fella. At that particular time, he wasn't a Christian. He'd been in the Navy, so you go figure. Okay? But he used this word one day. He said, Jimmy, you got to know the nomenclature or something. And I said, the what? He said, the nomenclature. You ever heard the word nomenclature? It's all about how something's designed, how it's put together, and how it works. David said it in simplicity, how wonderfully God had made him. He got it. He got it. And because he got it, he could be happier about it. So having said that tonight, I want to go to the 4th chapter, the book of John. Now Now, I am not going to spend my time in something that makes me unhappy. I ain't going to hang around it. I ain't going to be around it. I'm going to get out of it, but I want to be happy. Why would people not want to be happy? I know. There's burdens that comes down on you that if you weren't living the Christian experience, you might just shrug it off. And it may not bother you. But because you are who you are, it does bother you. And we need to be happy. Nobody can give that to you. There are folks who will try to take it away. But I'm going to spend my time being happy. And I can only do that in my Lord. We're going to talk about a woman tonight. Jesus saw something good in her. Now, if you really want to test your faith, start this next week with looking for something good in everybody you meet. Try it. Because there is something. It is easy to see our faults. They just jump out at people. But if we look for the good, we'll also get a peek inside. There's some good things too. Jesus and his apostles have been on a journey. And like everything else, sometimes you get tired. And they had come to the place of, again, where the body needed food. Needed food. And he had sent them on into town to get food. And the place they picked was a place where there was water. It was Jacob's well. It was an oasis. If you've ever been in desert country, water is a vital commodity. So I'm going to read. Here's your start. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, 4 verse 5, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. This piece of ground had been passed down through families because it had water, a valuable commodity. Are you getting thirsty yet? Just lick your lips a couple times and you'll be okay for a while. I want you to think about the water. Okay. Now Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, therefore, being wearied, my goodness, who'd have thought that the Lord ever got wearied? If you're a student of the Bible, you'll see on a lot of occasions he got weary. He got tired. You talk to some people today, I'll never get tired. Okay, whatever. And with his journey, the trip had made him tired. And he sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. Right at good old 12 o'clock. The sun has come up, it's reached its peak, and it beams down. And he's sitting at the well. And there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, Give me to drink. Now there's a very important part about that. This woman had nothing to do with Jesus or his followers. They were Samaritans. Do you think that I would have turned down a drink because I didn't like you? If I was thirsty enough, I'd say, bring it on. And that's exactly what he looked at. He didn't look at her race. He didn't look at her condition. He only knew one thing. He was thirsty, just as she was thirsty. They had something in common. Give me to drink, for his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat or food. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him. She's got the problem, not Jesus. She's got the problem. And you're going to see it here when she makes this statement unto him. How is it that thou, being a Jew, asketh drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. That was not Jesus' problem. The problem was within her in following the concept of the Samaritans, and maybe she'd been taught from a young age. You don't have nothing to do with those people. That still happens to families today. You don't have anything to do with those people. You know who gets hurt? I get hurt. I get hurt. And when we have these feelings, it's not the other person that gets hurt. We hurt ourselves. We rob ourselves of the happiness and stuff. Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and there's the secret, knowing the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. And that's important. That's a key right there. Living water. It is something that's vibrant. It's something that's alive, that should live inside of us. When we have quenched our thirst for eternal salvation, we have got the fear of death out of our way, of waking up in the morning or something that we're dealing with. We have gotten that out of the way because the water is living. It is alive. I marvel at today that so many people spend so much time fighting against something that they don't even believe exists. You know what? I think they're liars. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be blunt about an atheist. I don't normally do that. There's some good in atheists. They need to get their eyes open. But why do you spend your time and your efforts in trying to destroy something that you said don't exist? Answer that one for me, and I'll be satisfied. Living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou this living water? Didn't understand. Didn't understand what he was saying. Didn't miss the point totally. You don't have anything to get any water out of there. How are you going to do that? See, our physical logic starts to kick in. People want to see today. They want to see some creative thing from people that is of God. Then she says again, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle? Are you greater than Abraham? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. You may be getting thirsty right now. You'll get thirsty again. You can get you a cup of water and you can put it down. And in just a few short hours, you're going to need some more water. She understood that, I'm sure. She could see that. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him, inside of you, inside of me. A well of water springing up unto everlasting life. If everlasting life is not worth every effort that you make or I make, we're not deserving of that everlasting life. If we try to explain it away or we try to ignore it or we bring our thinking that Well, we've done. I've heard the Word of God. I believe that. I've repented of my sins. I've been baptized for the remission of sin. We can go through all of those things and still not be at peace. That will give you some peace that you've done what you need to do. But the Christian experience starts after baptism. And that's where the problem starts. When we're confronted, the same old thing that we've been confronted with from day one. That's what we battle against. That's our battle. That's who our enemy is. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water. She got the point then. It's just like maybe we go for years and years, and suddenly the light comes on. I need to do something about my spiritual condition. I need to do something about the promise of immortality. I need to do something about that. And the light came on. She said, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. She started getting honest. It's hard to deal with a dishonest person. It is hard to deal with someone that lies. It is hard to deal with a dishonest person. It's almost impossible, because then you don't know what is truth and what is not. Had a little incident happen. We just got in a house down at Lacey Creek, and it's on the road. And when you live with the road, it's not like being back on the hill or up Hammond Court, you know. And this kid, I knew him, and he stopped by and he said, Jimmy, I've got a load of logs out here, and I ain't got the gas to get them to the mill. I said, that's not a problem. What do you need? He said, well, I need $20 to get some gas. I said, you got it. I was told a little later, you'll never see that again. Let me ask you, I'd rather give $20 to find someone out than to give them $10,000 and have the same results. That wasn't much of a price to pay. I wouldn't lend it again. But I learned, see, if you're going to survive in this world, you need to be wise. You need to do your own thinking and not let someone else think for you. She got it. She said, don't even have to draw it anymore. I need living water. She said, I don't. He said, go tell your husband. She said, I don't have a husband. I love to have a conversation with God just like I would talk to the best friend I've got, and he is. I was in a funeral service the other day, and I said, I ran from God for 2 or 3 years, and I finally got to the point I held up the white flag, and I said, I've had it. That might be ignorant to somebody else. I had had it. And I said, let's call a truce. And he said, okay. We're at peace. We're at peace. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, in that thou saidst this truly. You see, the conversation is flipped from the first part to the last. She's finally got the concept. And then in her own words in her admission, the woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive thou art a prophet. Recognition. Recognition of who he is, what he has said, what he has promised, And then we recognize our need for that. What a good family that we've got at Lacey Creek. And maybe sometimes I don't tell you that as much as I should. Got a wonderful family, a wonderful God, a wonderful place that all of our hands have put together and formed into what you see today. Be a part of something good. Get your hands in to that and work. And finally her recognition said, you're a prophet, aren't you? You're a prophet of God. And how blessed she was. There was a lot of good things that come out of that. She went on into the city and she told the people, I have met a man that told me everything I ever did. And if you'll read that, and let me admonish you, finish reading that chapter. It's good reading. There were people that were oriented toward Christ because of one woman that finally got the message. And she quit hating Jews because she was a Samaritan. And the Jews hated the Samaritans. It was guilt on both sides of the aisle. And in my lifetime, I've talked to people, why don't you be a peacemaker? Why don't you be a peacemaker instead of a trouble stirrer-upper? Just be a peacemaker. We need to start with our own self of being at peace with God. And He will give us the peace that the Bible says passeth all understanding. You talk about happy. That's a happy place to be. I've enjoyed it. I didn't know about tonight, but I want to say, I told Sue so much. We are so blessed at Lacey Creek. You know, we didn't get down to where we had nobody. You prepare and you plan. And you turn everything into the hands of God and He brings something beautiful out of it. We don't have any worthless people at Lacey Creek. We don't have them. Everybody brings to the table their talents and their gifts, and they bring them before God. I'm going to close now with number 605. Finish reading that chapter. Maybe at another time we'd have got more out of it, but I want to tell you how much I've enjoyed tonight. Just being with you. That means a lot. We're going to stand and sing. Kenzie, I told you wrong. You thought I was going to say, Kenzie, you got the wrong number. It's my fault. 605. Kenzie, I was having some trouble reaching, and she come to my aid tonight, and I appreciate that greatly. I'll always remember that. But it's 605. Thanks, Sister Emily, for pointing that out. I hadn't seen it. Sing this out of your heart and mean it. Let's see what it does for us. Just